A wedding is supposed to be the happiest day of a woman's life. But on this day, when the bride lifted her bouquet and began her walk down the aisle, her daughter ran forward screaming one thing that froze the entire hall. Before the vows could be spoken, a secret buried for 15 years exploded in front of everyone. And what she revealed made the bride call the police on her almost husband. This is the story they never wanted anyone to hear. How did a simple wedding turn into a crime scene? What truth did the groom hide for more than a decade? And what pushed a teenage girl to risk everything to save her mother? To understand what happened that day, we must go back long before the wedding march began. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Maria Thompson, 42 years old, had survived life storms long before love found her again. She raised her daughter Lily alone after her first husband disappeared without a trace when Lily was just 2 years old. No one knew what happened to him. One morning he left for work and never came home. Police searched for months, but eventually the case went cold. Maria was left to pick up the pieces of a shattered life, working 2 jobs just to keep food on the table and a roof over their heads. Lily grew up watching her mother struggle, watching her cry at night when she thought no one was listening. But through it all, Maria never gave up. She fought for her daughter, for their future, for hope. After 15 years of loneliness, Maria finally met David Weston. He was charming, warm, respected in his community. He worked as a real estate agent and was known for his generosity at the local church. To Maria, he was a second chance at happiness. To Lily, something always felt off. She couldn't explain it at first. Maybe it was the way he looked at her mother, like he was studying her. Maybe it was how quickly he moved things along, proposing after only 6 months of dating. Or maybe it was the small lies she caught him in, the way he changed his story when she asked him simple questions about his past. But every time Lily tried to voice her concerns, Maria would smile and say she was just being protective. She thought Lily wasn't ready to see her with someone new, and maybe that was part of it. But deep down, Lily knew it was more than that. One evening, Lily came home early from school and heard David on the phone in the guest room. His voice was low, almost a whisper, but she could hear the tension in it. She stood outside the door, her heart pounding, and listened. He said something that made her blood turn cold. "She has no idea I'm still alive. After the wedding, we split everything and disappear again." Lily's breath caught in her throat. Still alive? Disappear again? She pressed her ear closer to the door, trying to make sense of what she was hearing. But then the call ended abruptly. She rushed to her room before he could catch her. That night, she couldn't sleep. The words echoed in her mind over and over. Who was he talking about? What did he mean by splitting everything? And why did it sound like he had done this before? The next day, while David and Maria were out shopping for wedding decorations, Lily went into the guest room where he had been staying. Her hands were trembling as she opened the closet, then the drawers. First, she found nothing, just clothes, cologne, a few books. But then, tucked beneath a stack of old newspapers at the bottom of a drawer, she found a folder. Inside were documents, faded and wrinkled, a driver's license with a different name, a restraining order filed against him years ago by a woman Lily didn't recognize. And then, a photograph. It was old, the edges yellowed with age. In it, 2 men stood side by side, arms around each other's shoulders, smiling. One of them was David. The other was a man Lily had only seen in pictures her mother kept hidden in a box under her bed. It was her father. Lily stared at the photo, her hands shaking so badly she almost dropped it. Why did David have a picture with her father? Why had he never mentioned knowing him? She thought back to all the times David had asked Maria about her past, about her first husband, pretending he knew nothing. He had lied. But why? What was he hiding? She took the photo and the documents and locked herself in her room. For hours, she searched online, piecing together fragments of information. She found old news articles, court records, anything she could find about David Weston or the other name on the fake ID, Derek Walsh. And slowly, a horrifying picture began to form. David, or Derek, had been involved in financial fraud years ago. He had scammed several people out of their savings, including a business partner who had filed a lawsuit against him. That business partner's name was listed in one of the documents. It was her father's name, Michael Thompson. Lily's heart sank. Her father hadn't just disappeared. He had been connected to David all along. But how? And what had David done to him? She knew she had to tell her mother, but every time she tried, the words wouldn't come. How do you tell someone that the man they're about to marry might be responsible for the disappearance of the man they loved first? How do you shatter someone's happiness when they've finally found it again after so many years of pain? With the wedding now only 2 days away, Lily made a decision. She went to the police. She brought the photo, the documents, everything she had found. But the officer behind the desk barely looked at her. He said the evidence was circumstantial, that people change their names for all kinds of reasons, that old photos don't prove anything. He told her to let it go. Desperate, Lily tried to talk to her mother. She sat her down and begged her to listen, but Maria only grew defensive. She accused Lily of being jealous, of trying to sabotage her happiness because she didn't want to share her. Lily left the room in tears, feeling more alone than she had ever felt in her life. That night, David cornered her in the hallway. His smile was gone. His voice was calm, but there was a coldness in his eyes that made her skin crawl. He leaned in close and whispered, "If you ruin this wedding, you'll regret it. You don't know what you're dealing with, kid. Walk away." Lily didn't sleep that night. She knew time was running out. She had one last chance to find proof, something undeniable, something that would make everyone listen. And then, in the early hours of the morning, she remembered something. David's phone. He always left it on the kitchen counter when he showered. She waited until she heard the water running, then crept downstairs. Her heart was hammering as she picked up his phone and opened the voice memos app. And there it was, a recording from years ago. She pressed play. It was a conversation between two men, their voices tense and angry. One of them was David. The other was unmistakably her father. "David, please don't do this. You're making a mistake. I trusted you." Her father's voice was pleading, desperate. Then David's voice, cold and sharp. "You should have kept your mouth shut, Mike. Now it's too late." There was a scuffle, a crash, and then the recording cut off abruptly. Lily's hands were shaking so hard she almost dropped the phone. She sent the recording to herself and deleted the evidence from his phone. She now had everything she needed, but she also knew that exposing David would destroy her mother. And she knew he wouldn't go down without a fight. The morning of the wedding arrived with clear skies and soft sunlight streaming through the church windows. Guests filled the pews, chatting excitedly, adjusting their hats and taking photos. The flowers were perfect. The music was gentle. Everything looked like a dream. Maria stood in the bridal suite, staring at herself in the mirror. She looked radiant in her white dress, her hair pinned up with delicate pearls. But her hands were trembling. She told herself it was just nerves. Lily stood in the corner of the room, silent. She hadn't said a word all morning. Maria had tried to talk to her, to ask if she was okay, but Lily only nodded and looked away. Deep down, Maria felt a pang of guilt. She wondered if she had been too hard on her daughter, if she had dismissed her concerns too quickly. But today was her wedding day. She had waited so long for this. She deserved to be happy, didn't she? The music began. The doors opened. Maria took a deep breath and stepped into the aisle. The guests stood, smiling, some wiping away tears. At the front of the church, David waited. He looked handsome in his suit, his hands clasped in front of him, his expression calm. But as Maria walked toward him, she noticed something strange. His eyes weren't on her. They were scanning the room, watching, waiting. Lily sat in the front row, her phone clutched tightly in her hand. Her heart was pounding so hard she thought it might burst. She had rehearsed this moment in her mind 100 times, but now that it was here, she felt paralyzed. What if no one believed her? What if they thought she was just a jealous daughter trying to ruin her mother's happiness? What if David hurt her mother, or hurt her, before anyone could stop him? But then she looked at her mother's face, glowing with hope, and she knew she couldn't stay silent. Not this time. The officiant began. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness the union of Maria and David in holy matrimony. If anyone here has any reason why these two should not be wed, speak now or forever hold your peace. The room fell silent. Lily stood up. Gasps echoed through the church. Maria's face went pale. David's jaw tightened. Lily's voice was shaking, but she forced herself to speak. Mom, she said, her voice breaking, he knows where Dad is, and he's been lying to you for 15 years. The room erupted. Whispers, murmurs, chairs scraping. Maria's bouquet slipped from her hands and hit the floor. David took a step forward, his face twisted in anger, but Lily raised her phone. I have proof, she said louder now, and then she pressed play. The recording filled the church. Her father's voice, desperate and pleading. David's voice, cold and threatening. The scuffle, the crash, the silence. Maria's knees buckled. Someone caught her before she fell. The guests were on their feet now, some shouting, some pulling out their phones. David lunged toward Lily, but two men from the congregation stepped in front of him, blocking his path. You don't know what you're talking about, David shouted, his voice shaking. That recording is fake. She's lying. But the fear in his eyes told a different story. Lily looked at her mother, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't want to hurt you, but I couldn't let you marry him. Not after what he did. Maria stared at her daughter, then at David, her mind racing, trying to make sense of everything. And then, slowly, the pieces began to fall into place. The strange phone calls, the way he always avoided talking about his past, the way he had pushed so hard to get married quickly, the way he had isolated her from her friends, from anyone who might ask too many questions. She looked at David, her voice barely a whisper. Did you hurt him? Did you hurt Michael? David said nothing. His silence was answer enough. Someone had already called the police. Within minutes, sirens wailed outside the church. Officers entered, and David was taken into custody. He didn't resist. He didn't say a word. He just stared at Lily with cold, empty eyes as they led him away. The church emptied slowly, guests whispering, reporters already gathering outside. Maria sat in the front pew, still in her wedding dress, staring at the floor. Lily sat beside her, unsure of what to say. Finally, Maria reached over and took her daughter's hand. Thank you, she whispered. I'm so sorry I didn't listen. Lily squeezed her hand, tears rolling down her cheeks. I just wanted to protect you, Mom. In the days that followed, the full truth came to light. Police investigators reopened the case of Michael Thompson's disappearance. They found financial records showing that David, under his previous identity as Derek Walsh, had been involved in a real estate investment scheme with Michael 15 years ago. When Michael discovered that David was defrauding investors, he threatened to go to the authorities. David couldn't let that happen. According to evidence recovered from David's old storage unit, including journal entries and deleted emails, David had lured Michael to a remote property under the pretense of discussing a new deal. What happened there remains unclear, but investigators believe Michael was killed and his body hidden. David then disappeared, changed his identity, and started over in a new town. Years later, when he met Maria, he saw an opportunity. He didn't know who she was at first, but when he learned her last name and saw photos of Michael in her home, he realized she was his old partner's widow. Instead of running, he stayed. He saw it as the perfect cover and a chance to access whatever assets Michael had left behind. It was cold, calculated, and it had almost worked. Maria struggled in the weeks after the wedding. She felt foolish, ashamed, angry at herself for not seeing the signs. But Lily reminded her every day that it wasn't her fault. David was a con artist. He knew how to manipulate people. He knew how to lie, and he had spent years perfecting his act. Slowly, Maria began to heal. She went to therapy. She reconnected with old friends she had lost touch with. She even started attending a support group for families of missing persons. And for the first time in 15 years, she allowed herself to grieve her first husband properly. Not as a man who had abandoned her, but as a man who had been taken from her. Lily returned to school, but she was different now. Quieter, more thoughtful. Her classmates whispered about what had happened, but she didn't care. She had saved her mother. That was all that mattered. One evening, 6 months after the wedding that never was, Maria and Lily sat together on the porch, watching the sunset. Maria turned to her daughter and said, "You know, I spent so many years thinking I needed someone to complete me, but I was wrong. I had everything I needed all along." Lily smiled. "So did I." Sometimes the bravest voice comes from the one everyone ignores. Lily didn't have a badge. She didn't have authority. She didn't even have her mother's trust at first. But she had the truth, and she refused to let it stay buried. If you were Maria, what would you have done? Would you have believed your child, even if the truth hurt more than the lie? Would you have had the courage to walk away from someone you loved, knowing they had deceived you? And if you were Lily, would you have spoken up, even if it meant breaking your mother's heart? Let us know in the comments. We want to hear your thoughts, because stories like this remind us that love isn't just about trust. It's also about protection. It's about standing up, even when it's terrifying, even when no one believes you, even when the world tells you to stay quiet. Lily didn't stay quiet, and because of that, her mother is alive today, free, safe, and finally beginning to heal. Subscribe if you want more stories that challenge you, move you, and make you think. Stories that stay with you long after the screen goes dark. Because the next one you won't believe. Until next time, stay curious, stay brave, and never ignore the voice that tells you something isn't right.